It was one of those nights where everything felt unsettlingly still, as if the world itself was holding its breath before an approaching storm. The only sound in our quiet suburban home was the rhythmic ticking of the clock, while outside the breeze barely stirred. I sat alone in the living room, only half aware of the flickering images on the television, my mind lost in a labyrinth of suspicion and uneasy thoughts that had haunted me for months. Tonight would be the night I finally uncovered the truth. Emily and I had been married for 10 years, a decade, filled with memories, ups and downs, and what I had once believed to be an unshakable trust. We met in college and fell for each other. Almost instantly, she was everything I'd ever dreamed of. Intelligent, funny, and kind. Together we built a life I was certain would last forever. But perhaps I'd been fooling myself, clinging to an illusion, because forever, it seemed, was nothing more than a fragile dream. The changes had been subtle at first, barely noticeable. She began coming home later, always with an excuse: extra work, gatherings with friends, or impromptu meetups with colleagues. I wanted to believe her, and for a long time I did, and never questioned her words because I had no reason to doubt her. But then, little things started to unsettle me. She began wearing a new perfume, one I had never seen her use before. She kept her phone angled away from me, checking it more frequently, her lips curving into secrets, miles at messages she never spoke of. The warmth she once showered me with felt distant, as if her body was here, but her heart was somewhere else. For months, I struggled to dismiss my fears, convincing myself I was overthinking, that my worries were irrational. But there was an unshakable feeling, an instinct that whispered something was wrong. It loomed over me like an unseen shadow, impossible to ignore. Then one evening, everything fell apart. It started innocently enough. Emily mentioned she was going out for dinner with colleagues, something that had become a regular occurrence. In recent months, my stomach twisted, but I nodded, forcing a neutral expression as I pretended I was fine. She'd done this before, yet tonight, something felt different as she prepared to leave. I caught a look in her eyes, just a fleeting glance, but enough to send a cold wave through me. When she finally walked out the door, I sat still for a moment, the air thick with tension. Then, on a desperate impulse, I reached for her phone, hoping, praying that she'd left it behind. My hands trembled as I unlocked it, dread settling deep in my stomach. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to find nothing, but the moment I opened her messages, my worst fears became reality. There, in a long exchange of texts, was a conversation with someone named Luke, a name I had never heard. In all our years together, sweet words, hidden plans, promises to meet that very night. Reading those messages felt like a punch to the gut. My chest tightened as I scrolled further, my heart pounding against my ribs. This wasn't a fleeting mistake, it was something deeper. She had been seeing him for months, building something with him, while keeping me in the dark, pretending our life together was untouched. The urge to scream, to throw her phone across the room, threatened to consume me. But I sat frozen, crushed beneath the weight of what I had just discovered. I had vowed to love her forever, to stand by her side no matter what, but now I saw the truth. She had been living a lie. And tonight she was, with him, holding his hand, laughing, maybe even kissing him the way she once kissed me. The urge to confront her immediately was overwhelming, to track her down and demand the truth. But another part of me felt frozen, as if my mind couldn't catch up with the weight of what I had just uncovered. I needed time to think, time to understand how everything had unraveled so disastrously. So I waited for her to come home, to see if she would lie to me again, standing in the house that now felt hollow and unfamiliar. The hours dragged on, each tick of the clock stretching endlessly. Midnight came and went, yet she still hadn't returned. My thoughts tormented me. Was she with him right now? Were they together, laughing at how blind I had been? Did she feel any guilt, or had she already erased me from her heart? Then, at around 1 in the morning, the sound of her car rolling into the driveway sent a sharp jolt through me. My pulse pounded as I sat up, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. I listened to her footsteps approach, soft clicks against the pavement, followed by the gentle creak of the front door opening. She stepped inside, humming to herself, completely oblivious to the storm. Waiting in the shadows, she looked carefree, radiant even in that. Realization only made the sick feeling in my stomach intensify. She didn't seem at first too caught up in shedding her coat and setting her keys on the counter. But when she finally turned and met my gaze, the lightness in her expression vanished, replaced by shock. "Oh," she murmured, her voice wavering. "You're still awake." I said nothing, just watched her, let her feel the weight of my stare, as my emotions churned violently beneath the surface. She shifted uncomfortably, but tried to maintain her composure. "I was just out with the girls for that work event," she said, forcing a casual tone, but the tension in her voice was unmistakable. Instead of speaking, I reached into my pocket and pulled out her phone the moment she saw it. Her face palled, her eyes widening with fear. She knew, lifting the phone slightly. I spoke, my voice low and trembling with fury. "I know everything." Her breath hitched. I saw the messages. I continued, my grip tightening. "I know you've been seeing someone else." Panic flickered across her face, and she made a desperate move to grab the phone, but he pulled it away before she could explain. Demanded, my voice rising with the rage that had been simmering inside me for months. "How do you justify months of sneaking around, lying to me? Pretending everything was fine?" Tears welled in here, but I felt nothing for them. No sympathy, no softness. She had done this. She had destroyed everything we had built. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. It was a mistake." I let out a bitter laugh, shaking my head. "A mistake?" I repeated coldly. "A mistake is something that happens once. This was a choice you made again and again. You threw away our marriage for him. Was I worth so little to you?" She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing, but her cries felt hollow. The woman I had loved, the one I had trusted with everything, no longer existed. In her place was a stranger who had ripped my heart apart without hesitation. I looked down at her, my voice barely above a whisper. "I want you to leave." Her tear-streaked face lifted, pleading, "Please don't do this. We can fix this. I still love you." But her words meant nothing. Now there was no fixing this. No going back. "I don't care," I said, my voice empty. "You need to leave." And with that, I turned and walked away, leaving her sobbing in a house that no longer felt like home. Upstairs, I shut the bedroom door behind me and collapsed onto the bed, my body drained of everything, rage, pain, even grief. The one person I had trusted, beyond all else, had betrayed me. She had shattered everything we had built, leaving nothing but wreckage in her wake. As I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, it hit me like a crushing weight. I had lost more than just her. I had lost myself. For years my identity had been wrapped around our love, the life we had shared, and now there was nothing left.